Hello everyone, Steve here from Tech Toy Tinker and Retro Arena. I just did a reaction video on the Odroid Go Advance that Retro Dodo did, and I immediately noticed the Odroid Go Super one right after, so I decided I may as well just do them both.
How you all doing, guys? Welcome back to Retro Dodo. Finally, I know I'm a bit late to the party, but I have my hands on the Odroid Go Super. Hard Kernel were nice enough to send out this product to review, and I have it in. And I really wanted to love this handheld, but there was just so many walls and barriers in the way, and I even pushed this review back a few weeks for me to test it even further.
Oh.
But everything from the get-go was just a little bit disappointing. So today I'm going to show you around the Odroid Go Super. There are some good features about this. There are reasons to pick this up, but for me...
This should be interesting.
Well, let's just jump into the review.
Yeah, that's...
Now first off, thank you to Hard Kernel for sending this out. But what you got to know is that this is the second unit that was shipped to me. The first unit... broke after day one. Something happened to it.
Had that happen.
I think people
Not
said
too
it
many,
was like
but it did
the
happen a few
internal
times.
display was broken.
I think it was how the display was being held in was putting too much pressure on it and it cracked.
I got in touch with them and was like, look, what's happened? And they admitted, yeah, it's broken, we'll send you out a new one. And they sent me out a new one, and first of all, I want to take you over the packaging, right? Because this is the packaging that it comes in.
The box.
And no joke, this
Personally,
was packaged in a bag.
You're not going to keep the box,
no
it doesn't matter.
Padding. This was in a bag and it was shipped to me. Same with the other unit. The packaging was damaged, almost like it was kicked down a flight of stairs or something. And I was like, maybe that's the reason the first one broke. And I was like, surely they can't do that again with the second. And again, it came in a bag shipped from the other side of the country, and the packaging, as you can see here, was damaged. And I was like, okay, here we go. Here's another broken Odroid Go Super, but it worked, and this is what you get. The packaging's super simple. You get your micro USB, your USB-C charging cable, and the Odroid Go Super here. Now, straight off the bat, you can see I have the transparent one, and in all honesty, I'm really liking the look of it. It is a nice size handheld. If I put that down and pull over my Nintendo Switch Lite,
this is a new
you can see that it's a very similar size. Admittedly, the D-pad and the analog sticks are switched around on the left-hand side, but
they're not.
It's a nice looking handheld.
They're actually a piece of the joystick.
Very nice size as well. I can pull over
it's not
the RG
just something they added on top. It's actually a new
to take a
joystick.
Look, and I can put that next to the Retroid Pocket 2 there, so you get an idea. Like, what I like about Hard Kernel is that they're willing to take risks. They were the first handheld on the market to use the new Rockchip RK3326 chip, which made it very powerful and allowed you to emulate.
Hard Kernel didn't use the new RK3326. That particular chipset came out in Q1 of 2018, and the Odroid Go Advance came out, I think, Q1 2020. So it's a couple of years difference, but I think what they did was they took a chipset that hadn't been used too much, that was reasonably affordable, and then they redesigned the printed circuit board to go inside the Odroid Go Advance and incorporated the Rockchip stuff and Mali stuff onto that circuit board.
64, and now they're one of the first to basically add a new screen. So let's take a look. Let's power it on, and I'll take you around the aesthetics of this device. I'll do a little zoom. There's
a
lot I like about this, and a lot I really dislike.
I've known Shanty a long time. He's a great guy.
The one thing I hate is these analog sticks. These are the cheapest analog sticks I've seen on a handheld.
I wasn't a fan of the joysticks either, but they're not bad if you put a cover on them. And the version 2 ones are much better.
You would have thought Hard Kernel would have looked back at our reviews, or even customers and people that have been picking up handhelds for some time now, and you would have noticed that everyone complained about these crappy analog sticks. Like, why they didn't go down the, you know, the analog...
Also, all the buttons are great now,
Retroid Pocket Sari sticks. You know, these are affordable now, and they're easy to get hold of. But no, they went down the cheap route, and I guess you could say they just want you to add grips. But that's a bit disappointing. The 5-inch display here has a resolution of 854 by 480, and yes, it is 16 by 9, but I absolutely love this display. It's incredibly crisp, very high saturated colors, which is perfect for playing old retro games.
It's a very, very
nice
nice
It's just a pleasant
screen.
Display to have.
I'm a big fan
on such
of
a
this
nice
device.
You got the D-pad
Not so
on the
much
left,
the
which is
RGB 10 Max,
incredibly
specifically the
thin
Odroid Go Super.
and quite small, in all honesty. Like, you know, that's probably like half an inch size on the D-pad. I would have liked them to add a much bigger D-pad. On the right...
The thing about that here, I know that some people like bigger buttons, but you have to understand that there's also people that don't. Like me, for example. These buttons do not bother me at all. Bigger buttons don't either. But I feel like for some people it's a choice. You can have one or the other. You can't make everybody happy. And some people just don't mind either way. So
you have your action buttons. Again, quite small. And my B button is actually a little stuck as well compared to AXY. But the B one is just, you know, it's just stuck, which is a little bit disappointing. And probably that was damaged upon shipping as well, which is disappointing. I'm loving the transparent shell though. They've done a cracking job there. Now if we go on to the top, this is where your buttons and your shoulder buttons are. And again, this may seem like I'm, you know, hating on the product, but the analogs, the shoulder buttons are very average. There's nothing special about it. They're very mechanical. There's not much feedback. You get a click and that's about it. And you don't really need to press much, which is quite nice, but they're just very, very basic shoulder
I don't mind those buttons. They're a massive improvement from the Odroid Go Advanced ones.
USB-C,
like a
your
massive
volume.
improvement.
The volume controls are actually really well placed. I like that they're at the top in the middle there. Very well placed. I
also
like
appreciate
that. At
the fact
bottom,
that they
you've got your
didn't
SD
use a
card
wheel.
slot. And what's good about this is that if you want to add a Wi-Fi dongle for faster Wi-Fi, you can add it into the USB port there. And on the back, because it's transparent, you can have a look at the internals, which is quite nice. I prefer the transparent look over the actual grey color that they've gone for. And overall, like the handheld shell they've used, the quality of it is quite nice. It's not super premium, but like the weight distribution's really, really nice, and it just feels like a very sturdy handheld, which is a lot different compared to the Odroid Go Advanced, which if you've watched our review, I wasn't very happy with the build quality. But the shell used on this just feels a lot sturdier and a lot better built handheld than the original Odroid Go Advanced, in my personal opinion. Like, it's got this curved shell and just fits nicely in the hand, which I like. So what I'm going to do now is actually dive into some of the gameplay. So this is an old chip.
I'm going to check out the gameplay, but I don't know if I really need to watch
chip,
that.
Which I've reviewed a ton of times.
Most things should work pretty well, depending on what he's
playing.
playing.
The RG351P and M is the same chip, which means it can kind of emulate the same stuff. And if you're new to handheld, the Odroid Go Super here
this should be the same as the
Odroid.
Oh no, he's not using Retro Arena this time.
So you need to
He
learn
won't
how
have
to
standalone
flash your own
N64. There might be
OS
some issues
onto
there.
it, install your own ROMs, etc. Like, this doesn't come preloaded at all. It's a very kind of, it's not a DIY project, but you need to learn the basics of emulation and how to flash onto an SD card your OS.
I don't actually think that that's a negative. Needing to learn the basics of emulation and how to put things onto an SD card and how to make little tweaks and adjustments yourself. It's actually kind of good to be able to learn to do certain things as well. And because they're not overly complicated, you're just dipping your toes and gaining some general knowledge, which is always good to have, in my opinion.
And firmware. So take that into consideration. This is not a pick up and play handheld. You will need some basic knowledge. So with that said, let's jump into some gameplay.
This should play fine. It's the same as it did. that there can be fixed a little, but not completely. You could use RetroArch though, or in certain builds for certain OSs, you can use Retro Run as well. It's something I should port into Retro Arena actually. It's done on the Anbernic devices. 351V to be specific. It's in ArcOS and Retro Arena. Shout out to Christian.
Can we just take a minute to really appreciate that screen and how crisp it is, how good the colors are? Like, the display is by far the best feature of this handheld. It's stunning. Admittedly,
let's go to the overall opinion.
Retro handheld out there. You can install your own ROMs, your own emulators. You can even add box art. You can save state, load state. Like, the Odroid Go Super does all that, and it does it well. And in reality, I didn't actually come across many, you know, much screen tearing
and a lot of ports like Half-Life and stuff run.
Emulation, but only in the large 3D games like you saw on GoldenEye, some Dreamcast, and maybe even some large PSP 3.
Alright, pausing again. This particular view here, the only reason that there's an issue with N64 is because at this point EmuElic was using RetroArch and a core to run N64, and this device isn't really powered enough to do that. It's kind of weak for that, so it lags a bit, especially in more demanding games. But if you use a different OS like Retro Arena, for example, then you would be using a standalone version and it would actually run exactly the same, or maybe even a tiny bit better because of some adjustments and tweaks, than it did on the Odroid Go Advance.
3D games, they will struggle, and they have struggled on
I think Shanty might have actually included it now as well.
So if you are looking for Dreamcast, large PSP games, and GameCube, this is not the handheld for you. This is up to
Dreamcast also does play some games as well on Retro Arena, at least because they use Retro Run, which Crash Override made.
That is what the Odroid Go Super can do. Now, in terms of the 16:9 display, it's stunning. It's very, very crisp. It's saturated, but you are going to have borders across all of your games, and it kind of, you know, takes away the effect of the large screen. Now, you can stretch it. You can change the resolution, etc.
If you mind scaling, that is. If you don't mind using screen scaling, you can fill the screen, no problem.
So yes, you're going to have a bigger
or you could use a bezel
area, but you are going to have much bigger borders. Now, that's what you're going to get from a 16:9.
I actually like bezels for arcade games and such. It gives you the feel of actually kind of
hardware,
a cabinet.
I really, really like how it feels. It's a very, very comfortable handheld. It's got some nice weight to it. The transparent shell is stunning, but there's a lot of hardware features which I would have changed, like the analog sticks, the shoulder buttons, the tiny D-pad. Those are the things that people care about, and they extend the gameplay lifetime by a considerable amount when it's even more comfortable. So I really do think they missed the bullet there.
Just get the new revision of the Odroid Go Super if you want better joysticks pre-installed.
Adding that would have made this handheld a competitor to, you know, the likes of the RG351P.
One more quick pause. I should also point out that even though it's not cheap, I think it's $70 US, there's a guy whose website is My Retro Game Case. He actually makes metal bodies for this, and all of these become metal as well. So if you Google that and find his site, you can actually purchase a full metal setup for this device.
It is somewhat affordable at $80. People kind of get reeled in, but you have to remember that you are also paying for shipping, which
I like that screen in the Odroid Go Super more than the two below it, for sure.
It's becoming more expensive than the Retroid Pocket 2 and near about the same price as the RG351P, which just doesn't compete with, in all honesty. The Odroid Go Super is for those that know what they're doing in the emulation space, want a much bigger screen, but don't mind the lower build quality. So that's where I'm at.
I don't agree that it's
Odroid
lower
Go
build
Super.
quality.
Don't get me wrong, it's a great handheld. The display is stunning, it's comfortable, it feels good. But
buttons
the
are
small
a personal
features
preference.
on the hardware, like the very low quality analog stick and the shoulder buttons, really does knock it down a peg or two. And when you're spending $100 on a handheld, you want things to
Admittedly,
feel
the
good.
analog sticks weren't
So
great
there you
in the
have it. If
version
you
1.
want
They're
even
the
more
same as the
information on
Odroid
the
Go
Odroid Go
Advanced, but
Super,
they've
there
been
will be
fixed
a
now,
written review
so
on our
that's
website
something.
coming up in the next few days. And as per usual, thanks for watching. It means a lot, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
I don't need that logo there. Alright, so that'll do it for this video. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I want to give a shout out to Christian Haitian, who does ArcOS, Retro Dodo, for the original video. As always, I'll put the link in the description. I also wanted to give a shout out to Justin and the team at Hard Kernel for the Odroid Go Advanced, the Odroid Go Super, the Odroid Go N2, XU4, C2, C4, and every other device in between. I really enjoy working with Hard Kernel and Odroid devices, and I'm going to continue doing it for a long time. Take care, guys.